Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis, and Bungie dropped a pretty solid TWAB today. It is March 11th, and we've got some news to go over. Quick review. They said they're going to be preparing for Grandmaster Nightfalls. Those are going to be starting on Tuesday. Just a reminder for Grandmaster Nightfall information. Strike difficulty is set to 1350 power. Minimum power is 1325, but that is also the maximum power. So if you have anything above 1325, you will be capped basically at an effectiveness of 1325 power. Each strike will have a set of modifiers, one each week, and then starting on April 20th, they had to do this, by the way, 420, you're going to have the opportunity to blaze through all available Grandmaster Nightfalls through a direct launch playlist. You don't know what I'm saying there? Just moving on. If you do miss a week, the final 3 weeks, you're going to be able to play all of them. So if you miss one, you'll still be able to work on your triumphs. And also remember the Grandmasters. This is the first time for PvE activities. You're going to have a chance to get these adept weapons. So if you're trying to, again, remember, get Shadow Price, Palindrome, or the Swarm, you can now get the adept version of those. So again, you can put the adept mods in there and get a little bit more of a stat bonus depending on which gun you get and what role you have. As for a quick reminder as well, remember the gilded titles are going to be available for Conqueror for the first time. So if you want to get the little square root symbol up there on your gilded Conqueror, you can do that one. And then here come the big ones. So patch note previews, they did do some changes to some strikes. Fallen Saber, Devil's Lair, looks like they just had quite a few issues. If you want to read through those, you can. Overall, nothing too crazy, but just looks like some just proper fixes from errors and bugs that were going on. For armor, they did fix an issue with linear actuators exotic perk for Titan exotic Dune Marchers, which was not triggering properly. The perk now behaves as expected, which is good. They said a Font of Might no longer displays a generic damage boost string, which is kind of like the text that's on the screen when its benefit is active. They also said the I can't even say that, Omniculus, are no longer granting melee energy when making only yourself invisible under some circumstances. So they did a few tweaks. Curious of the Falling Star also no longer grants Overshield when used with supers other than Thunder Crash. The things people come up with in testing in this game is always pretty crazy. As for weapons, Risk Runner, the perk, the visual effects, they kind of tone those down. Big one is Aim Assist on Arbalist. They're making it harder to hit headshots in Crucible. Apparently that thing with Aim Assist on console was just bananas, so that's kind of going back the way it should be. They also said after a few weeks of development, they have changes coming to Stasis, which is going to come on March 23rd, which is the following patch. So this one, next week is going to be the 16th for the weekly reset, and the week after that, the 23rd, is when we're going to see the changes to Stasis. They go through, they've said, quite a few testing and everything like that. The biggest thing I can tell you guys is the fact that they maintain their power in PvE content wherever possible. Almost every single one of these changes that we're going to go over real fast are going to be the fact that they don't mess with PvE. So PvP kind of toning things down, making it not as crazy. Same like the effects that currently work now, and they feel like the balance is good for PvE, stays the same. So now they're really starting to get into the two separate sandbox balancing. That is a huge fist pump. I'm glad to see it because it's been big. For the Hunter, they're removing the damage resistance from Shatter Dive and also adding a 4-second cooldown between activations of Shatter Dive. Withering Blade, decrease Withering Blade, which is the melee, if I remember correctly, damage against players from 90 to 65 damage. PvE damage is unchanged, so still will hit as hard in PvE, and you'll see this a lot. PvE whatever is unchanged. It's almost all over the stuff. Decrease Withering Blade slow stacks applied to players from 60 to 40, and I'm guessing you probably have to get up to like 100 or something like that. So PvE slow stacks are unchanged. Decrease the target acquisition of Withering Blade after it impacts a player from 12 meters to 8 meters. So a little harder to get the easy tracking of groups. It's going to have to travel, a little shorter distance to still work as is. Again, still range, completely the same PvE. All good things. Titan, Glacial Quake. Removed AoE freeze against players on Super Cast. Will still freeze in PvE. So again, these types of things are awesome. Like, if you cast it and you freeze enemies in PvE, you're like, oh, that's a good benefit. But in PvP, just the fact that you cast your super and then freeze somebody, you're like, you're already really crazy powerful. That was a bit over the top. And most of the changes that I see here are most of what the kind of high-level PvP community was going for to kind of bring Stasis into balance without completely killing it. Most of the stuff seems reasonable without completely, taking it out at the knees. Reduce damage resistance while in super from 60 to 50%. Glacial Quake was like the most powerful there. Increase the energy cost of using Triver Strike, which is the melee. while you're in Glacial Quake from 3% to 7%. People basically were just like flying around the map with that melee because it traveled so far. So kind of pulling back how far you can fly around the map and potentially, you know, like farm spawns on the other side. Using the combo of a Shiver Strike into a heavy slam attack will now cost the full super energy of both the Shiver Strike and the slam. Previously, it only cost the slam, so people would like fly across and then slam and not get penalized for both. So they were really just efficient in their travel. Shiver Strike, increased downwards velocity applied to Shiver Striking players when they are slowed to pull them out of the air more strongly. Not entirely sure, but I guess if you do get slowed, you're going to fall to the ground quicker as opposed to maybe floating in the air if you get hit in the air. Possibly, I guess Warlocks might be falling to the ground a little bit quicker. And speaking of Warlocks, Winter's Wrath, improve the tracking of Winter's Wrath projectiles. That's the little like turret that was on the ground. Now tracking strength decays from its max value over 10 seconds instead of 2.2. There's like a unknown bullet point here, so that might be an accident. Increase the size of the Warlock super projectiles proximity detonation radius 1.5 meters to 1.65 meters. And then the proximity detonation now starts at its largest and scales down to 40% over time. Penumbral Blast decreases the Penumbral Blast damage against players from 80% to 30 or 80 to 30 damage. So that's the one that will actually, I think it's the melee that will freeze you or basically slow you down. The PvE damage is unchanged, so your melee is still strong. Just in PvE, it's more about the slowing effect that you've got and not about, you know, basically taking away half their health. Ice Flare Bolts fixed a bug where Ice Flare Bolts would continuously try to switch targets, increase target acquisition of Ice Flare Bolts by 33%, and increase tuning speed of Ice Flare Bolts so they can more effectively hit nearby targets. Chaos Reach, if you haven't been playing PvP, this thing is insane lately. Decrease the amount of super energy refunded when canceling Chaos Reach early. People would like kill you and then turn it off and then I swear have their super back to do it again not too long away. So overall, those are good changes. The big thing, PvE damage being unchanged on so many of these things to really start separating these sandboxes. That's awesome to hear. Also, general stasis changes. Duskfield grenades reduce how strongly basically players are pulled inwards towards the grenade. Again, all of these things, PvE is basically unchanged. Reduce the slow stacking applied to players by the grenade detonation from 10 to 20. Reduce the slow stacks applied to players on each tick of the grenade from 10 to 5. And adjusted the UI presentation of slowed status to display slow stacks as X of 100 instead of X of 10. I guess if you get up to 100, you are stuck, so I guess we'll have to see what that looks like. Stasis Crystals reduce crystal shatter damage against players from 85 max to 55 min to 55 max to 25 min. PvE still is the same. Whisper of Chains reduce Whisper of Chains damage resistance bonus while in super from 25% to 5%, so that's substantial. Damage resistance when not in super is unchanged. This only affects damage from other guardians. So if you're using Whisper of Chains for PvE, still okay. Whisper of Torment fixed a bug where players could continuously proc the Whisper of Torment while standing inside an opponent's barricade. Basically, you would take damage in a barricade, but theoretically, you never die. So you would be able to recharge your abilities and things a lot quicker by standing in that thing if you found one that was kind of unused. So that's probably a good thing. Stasis Fragment quests significantly reduced objective completion values for all Crucible Fragment quests. Cannot tell you how many times if I picked up Crucible on accident and was like, oh crap, this is better. Because, you know, if you don't want to do one of the game modes to get these fragments, kind of sucks. This seems a little bit more reasonable. In case you wanted to know, dinosaurs win. So this is a little bit of fan art for the dinosaur armor. So when it comes to Festival Lost later this year, sometime in the fall, October-ish, whenever they want to do it, you're going to be going for the dinosaur armor. Doesn't mean the monster armor won't come at some point, just the dinosaur armor seems to be the winner for this one. Patch preparation also, on the 16th, they're going to be putting the patch out for Grandmasters, so getting some changes out into the game. To kind of line that stuff up, they're going to be working on fixing, of course, the 12-person, you know, Nightfalls and stuff like that are supposed to be fixed. Let's see, Clan EXP should be fixed. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, Clan XP will be temporarily disabled for bounties, but won't count towards it. I guess it's going to come back up after a little while. If you are trying to do the Presage scannables, the Glycon mission, you have to go through and get the full set of scannables for the week to get the Triumph. And then next week, you'll be able to get the next set. If you don't get all of them within a week, you'll have to go back and do the full set within a week. So you'll have to do them over a course of sets of weeks. So make sure you get all of them within a week, and then the next week you come back, you'll be able to go on to the next set. But big thing is, if you're going for those scannables, you'll obviously have to, you know, potentially work as a team for that one. Going to make life a little bit easier. If you're going solo, just braver than I am, at least for the moment. at least until I level up. Trials of Osiris is back. Will be re-enabled, so they've fixed an issue that prevented Trials of Osiris from being active the past 2 weekends. Trials of Osiris will be re-enabled and active at the end of Daily Reset. Active at the Daily Reset on Friday, March 12th. Daily Reset is going to be, remember, it's a 9 a.m. Pacific time on the 12th, but on Sunday, daylight saving time for at least us in the United States and whoever else is doing it goes into effect on Sunday. So Daily Reset is now going to be 10 a.m. Pacific. For me, it's like noon Central Time, so keep that in mind. There are some weekly issues they've got mentioned here, and then they kind of go through, do your movies of the week. You've got your artist of the week. I love that they shout out the artist now. It's fantastic. And then here we are, a full year of working remotely. Last year I said that our weekly TWAB installments have been helping keep my head focused on what day it is, but I must admit, I find myself asking what year it is more often than not. It's been March for about 12 months now, but I'm happy to say that things are starting to get brighter with each passing day. Cheers to the fire teams that have been keeping each other company over the past year. Cheers to those who have been staying safe, supporting charities, and doing whatever they can to help their communities through these times. You continue to serve as a light for those enduring some dark times, and this world is a better place thanks to you. As we head into the weekend, I'll be spending some time with my Grandmaster Fire team, figuring out what days and times we'll be hitting the activity. We earned our initial Conqueror titles in Season of Arrivals together, and I'm pretty excited to go for Guild with the same group. Yeah, friend game is the true end game. Gets memed on every so often, but I'll be damned if I don't admit that this fire team has been the sickest loot I've gotten from Destiny. I hope you are able to form similar bonds through clans and friendship found in the Destiny community. They don't come often, but when they do, they can last a lifetime. Cheers, Dylan, DMG. So that's the TWAB this week. Biggest stuff, obviously. Grandmasters are coming next weekend, so you can start working on those, grinding for your loot. I think this week, if we're on, Palindrome. I could be wrong on the rotation. Next week, we might start on the Swarm, whichever the rotation is going to be. But then again, Grandmasters potentially should be very high chances for, those adept weapons probably should have a pretty good chance to drop. So if you don't get it on the first time, hopefully maybe at least, 1 out of 2, I would hope. But Trials is coming back. You've got Stasis changes coming to mostly the PvP sandbox on the 23rd. And Grandmasters are kicking off next week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you're excited about the news, let me know below. If you think the Stasis patch feels pretty solid. Overall, from what I can see on Twitter, a lot of the PvP people are happy about that. And then if you guys do plan to jump into Grandmasters, let me know. I'm always curious to see people who are going hard on Grandmasters. But overall, thank you guys for the support lately between Destiny and Outriders. The support has been great. So thank you guys. Going to continue coverage on both of those and look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. If you have thoughts about any of this, of course, comment below. Sometimes I stream on YouTube. I also stream over on twitch.tv/Ebontis. So follow, turn alerts on, and all that fun stuff. And of course, you can find me on Twitter. Thank you guys. Have a good one and enjoy your weekend if I don't see you soon.